On today's episode of Locked On Wild, the contract stalemates continue. So who blinks first, the Wild or Kaprizov, or the Wild and Rossi?
Hey, this is Matt Boldy, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team each and every day, and we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day as well. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, we'll give you a little update on the Kirill Kaprizov, Marco Rossi contract situations and why, even though maybe starting to get nervous, might not necessarily be a need to do that. And we're also going to take a look at the top 5 Minnesota Wild players right now as part of a reoccurring bit that will be taking place amongst the Locked On NHL shows, leading up to a top 100 list coming up later here before the season starts. My name is Seth Toupal, host of Locked On Wild, host of Seth on Sports, credentialed media member, joined by Alex Micheletti for his usual Monday appearance. And Alex, as the world turns, as we get closer to training camp and the start of the regular season, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Michael Russo was on KFan on Friday and gave a little bit of an update on the current contract situations for both Kirill Kaprizov and Marco Rossi, one of which kind of caused a little bit of an alarm bell to go off, and one of which I think is kind of where we expected things to be, and that is Kirill Kaprizov. As of right now, still not signed, but as Russo noted on Friday, and I think this is kind of a similar vein that we've been here at Locked On Wild, is that while he hasn't signed yet, that's not a gloom and doom indicator. It's just the fact that he's been out of the country and Bill Guerin's been away. And this was just never going to be something that was done over the phone and agreed to via text. There just are a few things that still need to be gone. It's like purchasing a timeshare, purchasing a condo. You don't do that without watching the presentation. I mean, I suppose there are some people that do, but you watch the presentation first, and then you sign multiple times on the dotted lines. And in order for Kaprizov to see the presentation, he's got to get here first.
Right. And he's under contract compared to Rossi. Rossi does not have anything. So that, the situations are a little bit more different. They want him to be in Minnesota to sign his contract too. So if he's still in anytime that you see him in Russia, he's not signing it until he's actually in the state of Minnesota. So that, that's a big hint for any type of deal that could be close. If he's not in Minnesota, it's not happening until he's in the arena.
Yeah, and it is interesting because Russo mentioned that Kaprizov was supposed to come to the States by the end of this month, and now that has been delayed to September. And so we're not suggesting that they just have oodles of time to get this done, but I think it really is a situation of he gets here, they take a day or two to kind of iron everything out, and it gets done. All the reports that we've seen, that we've heard, that the Wild are right where they need to be as far as the money goes. That was never in question. I think what is really going to be interesting is what the years end up being. do they really want to go? Does Kaprizov's side really want to go short? Not only to everybody uses the go short to see if the team is able to be competitive. They're going short to reset the market. Like they're going short because the moment Kaprizov signs his deal, Connor McDavid is going to sign one at some point this offseason too that's going to eclipse his value. So in 4 years, he gets a chance to do it again. That is what it comes down to, is just wanting to take advantage of major ups in the salary cap for the NHL. And so if he wants to sign for 4, sign him for 4. Like that may be one instance in which the Wild kind of have to blink to get this done.
100%. And, from all we've known is he wants to win, and that's all he cares about at this point in his career. He started a little bit later than a lot of the other like young superstar prospects because he was stuck in the KHL there for a bit, and so he's a little bit older. Yeah, it's all about winning for him, and he's got to figure out if this next group of prospects can help him get there, because some of the core that he's with right now is older, and Brodin, Spurgeon, and they're getting up there in age, and Zuccarello is best buddy. So we'll see if Yurov is the unknown with it's and the good thing for that, he has Kirill there to help him get going, and Tarasenko right there as well. And so you're exactly right. Oiler fans are more freaked out than Wild fans, because they're like, what's going on with McDavid? But you're right, they're just waiting. They're waiting for Kirill to get his done so he can one up Kirill, and that's what in all pro sports now. It's they see a deal, and some of these people that have signed contracts a year or two earlier, they just say, hey, this guy is making more money than me, and I know that I'm better than this guy. So that's interesting in this day and age of new contracts. And it's good to see the cap continuing to go up, and it's probably with expansion coming here too, that's gonna influx even more cash. So that's gonna be interesting to see where what teams get picked for that. Or
it would
cities.
be nice for the highest AAV in the NHL to eclipse what a quarterback makes for their signing bonus.
Nuts.
Point.
Right. And reading the what you said about Russo too, it's really interesting that Leopold has really always been against signing bonuses for the most part, and with this, he's willing to concede that for Kaprizov. So that it goes to show you how important this guy is to the franchise, and changing the way they do business.
It is interesting. You mentioned that as what I would assume falls under a few things that fell between the cracks that have to get ironed out when Kaprizov gets to the States. At the end of the day, I think Kirill knows if he wants to stay or go. Like Russo said pretty point blank that if this doesn't get done by training camp, it's probably not going to happen. And I agree, but this isn't something that's going to take. This isn't going to take 2 weeks. This isn't going to take an extraordinary amount of time. The Wild are either going to meet what Kirill is looking for, or he's going to just say, I just don't think I can do it here. Like there is going to be no situation where the Wild are like, no, we're not going to do that. Like ultimately, I think he knows the answer. Yep. I think he knows what he wants to do. It's just a matter of putting it pen to paper.
And if he doesn't, they have to go to him right away and ask for, where would you be willing to sign long-term other than the Wild? Because they can't have it be a situation where it was Gaborik where they got nothing. They just, at the end of the day, he walked. They have to be able to get the assets. If he's not willing to to resign, which would be the biggest doomsday ever. But it's like you're going to somewhere that I mean, this is where he's been comfortable for so long, and it's all he's ever known, and that's that's a big risk for him to go elsewhere.
Consider me Leslie Nielsen in Airplane with Craig Leopold and Bill Guerin in the cockpit trying to land the plane, and me saying, I just want to let you both know, good luck. We're all counting
Yes.
on you.
Right.
Because that's basically what it comes down to is they're going to meet what Kaprizov is looking for. They're going to come.
They can pay the most
out
out of anybody, right?
Yeah. They're either going to find a little common ground if they maybe have to make a couple of concessions in the deal, or they won't. But I think he already knows. It's not as if it's something where you have to like court Kaprizov to stay. Like, he's been here. He knows what is going on. He knows what is coming. It's not as if this is all new to him. If he would go anywhere else, they'd be the ones that would have to court him. And some franchises, it's as easy as pointing to the Stanley Cup trophies and saying, we win these. So maybe there are some teams, if this did go, that have a much better chance. But ultimately, like, it's more so for Bill Guerin to just like, you're in the red zone. Go get this done. You do not throw an interception in the red zone. Get this thing done so we don't have to talk about it again.
Yeah, it's the most important deal in franchise history that needs to be accomplished. There's no bigger issue right now than getting this resolved.
Yeah, and if it's four, it's four. If it's five, it's five. If it's three, yeah, probably not ideal, but like, get it done.
Right. You go with what for the term, go with what he wants. Don't hassle about that. If you can, debate the other parts of the deal, but if he's locked in at a certain year range, you go with that because that's what he is willing to concede on his end.
You go from one where it feels like just have to kind of smooth a few things out to building an entirely new bridge. Which is the case for our next yet to be resolved contract situation. We'll circle back to Marco Rossi's current situation and what may or may not ultimately end up happening as we finish today's episode of Locked On Wilds after this. Today's episode of Locked On Wild is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart characterization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a single spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. We are your team each and every day as well. I got so excited I jumped the gun. We've actually got 2 segments to go. We're in the middle segment right now, but we're talking about Marco Rossi. Michael Russo also gave an update on the Rossi situation, and he basically threw his hands up in the air and said, I don't know. There really isn't much of an update because the two sides haven't talked in 2 months. And it is pretty well known. It's pretty well known what the feeling is within the organization. the team just does not feel like Marco Rossi is a top 6 center. They don't feel like he is capable of playing that role. We saw that when he was moved to the 4th line. Evidently, from what Russo said, there wasn't much of a conversation that took place, which I'm sure is another part of the reason that Rossi got so irked. That he wasn't really talked about. It was just okay, here's the lineup, and there could have been conversations that were held privately to talk about it. There could not have been. So I can see a little bit of where a player might get irked about not knowing where they were going to be put in the lineup, but ultimately it comes down to the money. It comes down to the term. And to this point, the sides are very far apart in both categories. And I feel like a broken record at this point, but I continue to say I think at some point, if Rossi truly wants to end up elsewhere, he's got to take something. If you take a contract that you feel like is lower value than what you're worth, that would make him easier to trade. If that is his ultimate goal, is getting out of Minnesota and moving to a place where he is more appreciated, signing something that is below his market value is going to be the way to do it. I'll tell you what isn't: holding out till December and just sitting out and waiting for this situation to resolve itself. And, you know, that might seem like I'm taking a very team approach in this, like treating it like a business. I think I realize just how starved this team has been for quality talent in the top 6 over the course of their franchise history. But sometimes players just don't fit in particular spots. Sometimes coaches and players don't get along. Sometimes players don't fit in what an organization is trying to do. And like, we can bemoan it as much as we want, but that just seems to kind of be where we're at right now.
Yeah, and his camp seems to think that he's worth the Matt Boldy money, and that's not what the Wild think. And you know, with holdouts, they never work really for the player. You know, in the end, even if they do get that contract, look what happened to Jeremy Swayman. He was just off the entire season by when he was doing his holdout. It did not work out well for him playing wise. And yeah, they're in a really tough spot because, you know, if they do agree to that, like Marty Nietzsche's type of deal, look at Nietzsche's got traded, you know, from Carolina to Colorado. So you don't want to hold out though at all. So
Yeah.
they're gonna. It doesn't. Yeah, we know Bill Guerin. He's pretty stubborn. He's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna cave at all. And so, you know, the Rossi camp is gonna have to, you know, swallow their pride, I think, and take a deal. And you know, that relationship, it seems like it's going to be really tough to rebuild because, you know, clearly, you know, they moved him to the 4th line, and you know, they believed in Ryan Hartman. Obviously, Ryan Hartman was playing well too, but you know, they clearly think that Rossi is a different player in the playoffs than regular season.
Yeah.
And we know that's a bigger, you know, it's a different game in the playoffs.
And I'm really not upset by the Hartman elevation. No. The one that makes no sense is Freddie Gaudreau.
No, he wasn't doing anything out there. You know, I mean, if you were actually, you know, producing, or you know, he wasn't even shooting the puck. And I think they realized the mistakes there, you know, after the season, and why they tried to move him as quick as, you know, they, thank goodness they found Seattle. Seattle was willing to take on that contract, you know, to get out from under it, but he just wasn't producing how they needed him to be, and that's why he's gone.
The thing that I think needs to be a bigger focus in this is, if it does truly feel like he's going to be moved, whether it be during the season, after the season, my bigger question would be like, as part of what? Like, as part of what? Because the Wild already went the route of shopping him without a contract to the rest of the league, and the rest of the league was either unwilling to meet what Bill Guerin was asking for or just not interested. Like, you had Vancouver as one of the teams that offered up the 15th overall pick and a player. It was really the only tangible trade offer that we saw. And again, that could be Bill Guerin just asking for way too much, or teams that just were like, we're not really going to get involved with that until he signs a deal. Now, if he signs like a 2 or a 3-year deal, you could have teams lining up out the door to come get him. And rightfully, you probably should. So then what does him getting moved, like, as part of what? To who? To which team? Is the bigger question, because as it stands right now, this is very subject to change, but the amount of money, especially with a little more flexibility, assuming no major injuries, the amount of money that the Wild will have heading into the trade deadline is going to be sizable. So you're going to have the ability to go get somebody big, and if Marco Rossi's not going to be a piece of your future here, he should probably be in that deal.
Yes, he would be the number one part of the deal. He's a 60-point regular season player. Teams are desperate, as we know at the Wild, at center, and he would, teams are always looking for young, players that have NHL playing experience as part of deals, because with futures you just never know, and that's in this new age of the trading market. GMs are always looking for guys that are young, cheap, and Rossi fits the build there. And no matter what you can say about his size, he did put up 60 points. So that's that can make some GMs especially come playoff time or if they're struggling, can try to see if they can get them on the cheap.
Yeah, so whether you're on Bill Guerin's side, as he's right, Rossi is too small in stature to be an effective player. I think if that's the sole argument you're going with, that's pretty off base. But that is the route that he is looking to go, is that he just doesn't feel like Rossi is an impact piece long term for this franchise. And so whether it be the Pittsburgh Penguins, whether it be the New York Islanders, whether it be the Buffalo Sabres, whether it be whoever, like, get the deal done. Tell them, look, we will start working on finding a long-term solution for this. And you start scouting everybody and figure out who you're going to get to bolster that top six, because
and we have to hope
is very tight.
And we have to hope with the pro scouting staff, because they kind of swung and miss at the most recent trade deadline, and so hopefully they've learned from their mistakes. You can't be perfect, but I mean, Justin Brazeau brought you nothing, and Gus Nyquist, you can say he basically lost the Wild the series by going off sides on.
You can more than say it. He did.
Yes, and because it completely changed everything. Yeah, they Vegas right there, they knew they had won.
Yeah, so that's the route I'm more interested in. Obviously, we will monitor this, but I would like to not now bring it up again until there's resolution one way or the other, until a deal is signed or until a trade happens. Because frankly, I know all of you are. I'm sick of it. Like, I'm exhausted by it. The only reason that I brought it up today was because we did get a little bit of a fresh update on it on Friday. But throw them in the padlock and get rid of them, because I don't want to say the word extension, Rossi, or Kaprizov again until they've happened.
This discourse is turning into like when it's debating the Vikings quarterback situation. We thought we were done with it with Kirk Cousins, but it never ends now with JJ McCarthy. People either think he's going to be Patrick Mahomes or he's a complete bust. It's like we need to see regular season action. Please start the season for the NHL too. It's we're getting to the point of the off season where it's just bananas, the takes that you're seeing out there.
They think he's either going to be Patrick Mahomes, one of the better quarterbacks to do it in this generation, or Pete Holmes, a comedian playing quarterback. Like
Right.
those are the two choices
Right.
At this point. But we're going to finish with a little fun kind of a look at the top 5 Minnesota players right now, as we now finish today's episode of Locked On Wild after this. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. And once again, we thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Once again, we are your team each and every day as well. Alex, the network as a whole is going to be putting together a list the top 100 players in the NHL right now, similar to what NHL Network has done with their top wings, their top defensemen. The process is currently ongoing. We're in the gathering phase right now. We soon will vote on where we think particular players should go. And we'll, of course, share the results once they're available. But I thought it would be kind of fun today to just take a look at the top 5 Minnesota players right now, just kind of get us in that mindset. I did submit 5 players for the list, but I'm fully expecting that not all 5 will make it. So let's talk through the top 5 right now. Obviously, at number 1, pretty easy. It's Kirill Kaprizov. It was a Freudian slip. That was a Freudian slip right there. Kirill Kaprizov is number 1 on the list. Really no debate here.
No debate. Yeah.
Number 2 on the list, I went with Matt Boldy. I think I look at all things considered, points, importance to the team, what happens to the team if particular players are missing from the lineup. We haven't really had a chance to see what this Wild team looks like without Matt Boldy because he's been pretty durable. But I think he continues to ascend. And after what we saw in the playoffs, he was the second best player behind Kirill Kaprizov on the roster. So I think Matt Boldy's number 2.
Yeah, he's only going to continue to get better. That's a steal of a contract that they have with him right now. I know some fans might say that where's the consistency, but he really turned it on in the playoffs. He scored some really important goals, and hopefully he took that into his summer training and is coming back even hungrier in the fall here. And they need him because if it's not Kirill, who else is going to be scoring? And he needs to be that Robin to Kirill's Batman.
And I think the biggest thing for a player like Boldy at this point in his career is it may not be something that he actively thinks himself, but just the mentality of, okay, even when Kirill's in the lineup, I still have to be that guy. I still have to bring that A game to be able to perfectly counterbalance that. What we saw in the playoffs where, okay, I need to bring it. If we're going to win this series, I need to bring it as much as he does. And I think that's really kind of the last piece of the puzzle as far as Boldy goes. And if he can really get that down, that's when his numbers are going to continue to take off like they have.
Yeah, he's turning into, he can, with the size and the shot that he has, the modern day power forward superstar. And, he's only going to get better, and he's still relatively young, right? It's it's crazy. They have him for a long time here, and with him getting the chances to to play with Kirill, especially on special teams, he should have a huge season.
Number 3 on the list, I went with Joel Eriksson because I think this more speaks to kind of what the center position is behind him than him himself. Although we've seen what happens once he is taken out of the lineup, that everything just kind of is thrown out of whack. And we saw a good indicator last year of what happens when an injury kind of robs a guy of his ability to shoot. Just that core issue just never got healed up until the end of the season. Oh, and then the first game that Eriksson's back, he scores 4 goals. Like he is, I think, maybe more crucial than the 2 in front of him. But as far as the best players list goes, I'm putting Joel Eriksson third.
Yeah, you nailed it. And he's the best defensive forward on the team too. He does it all for this team. He could easily be, the captain. And like you said, I mean, we've seen it throughout his career. The Dallas series when he got hurt, and it just they looked like a completely different team. And hopefully he can stay healthy this upcoming season. He does. His minutes are he plays the hard minutes, and he's always up against other teams' best centers, and he's willing to get underneath skins of players, and he never draws it to where he gets in a fight, but he's in their heads, and that's one of the things I love about his game.
Yeah, he's a bulldog, a beast, a pit bull, whatever you want to call it. Which is why he's at number 3. Number 4 on this list, and you can maybe interchange these two, but I'm going kind of based on reputation. I'm going Jonas Brodin, number 4. Consistently the best pursuit defenseman on the Wild roster. Seems like he's the one that, when he's out, is missed the most between him and Jared Spurgeon. We'll get to see that for the first couple of weeks again this year, with Brodin already expected to miss at least the first couple weeks of the season. So I put Jonas Brodin 4th, and then I put Brock Faber 5th. Even with what we had characterized as a little bit, I just said not as dynamic of a season last year.
Mm-hmm.
He still filled a variety of roles. He had a pretty good season considering. Just wasn't as dynamic as his rookie year, but garnered a top 20 spot for NHL Network. And with what he already does, what he's going to do, I put Faber 5th on my list.
Yeah, well-deserved new contract for him, and now is he's going to really be in the spotlight too, with Brodin, at least from what we've gathered out first couple of weeks of the season. So he's going to have even more on his plate. Him and Middleton are going to have to step up. Spurgeon, we know he's been a stalwart for forever, but with Faber and Steve Boyum coming into the team, hopefully making the team, he won't have to play as many minutes. Especially on the power play. Zeev can take the top power play there and maybe save some harder minutes for Faber, especially with Brodin out. And he's still so young too, and his game is only going to get better. And the D-core has always been the strength of the Wild, and he's gonna be a future captain of this team. I can see it, and that's a great pick.
So let us know in the comment section what your top 5 would be. Let me know if I'm off my gourd for my top 5 picks, or in general thoughts on the Rossi and Kaprizov contract situations. Fill up that comment section. We enjoy the interaction with each and every one of you on a daily basis. That is going to do it for today's episode, though, of Locked on Wild. So again, we appreciate you joining for today's show. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on your favorite podcast platforms so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. September 1st, I know it's Labor Day. We'll have an episode, though. September 1st is when we start gearing things up for 2025, 2026. We got burning questions, things that still need to be answered. roster discussion, all of it for a full month before we gear up for the start of the regular season. So make sure you don't miss out by subscribing today. We've got new episodes for you every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.